Well, hello YouTubers. Grumpy Old Man here. I'm, wouldn't say one-upping, inspired by the latest videos from Troll Forge / Troll Farm. And I thought I would do the same kind of thing. Well, yeah, hello kitty. We have a feral cat, Shadow Kitty. She likes to hang out in the neighborhood. She's currently photobombing. Yeah, she's in heat. I'm going to show you how much snow we've had out here. Now, I don't have the snowbanks that Troll has because, one for me, I have a snowblower. So we don't accumulate the snow by being pushed into snowbanks. But behind me, you can see buried in the snow, it's finally starting to show itself, is my riding tractor. We're going to take it out to Troll's farm in the spring when it can be loaded into the trailer, and put a new engine on it because some idiot took the engine off to clean it, left it sitting on a shelf in the garage after my late wife, well, at that time she passed. I had to empty that garage kind of in a hurry, and I think that's where it's still sitting. And it's a building owned by the federal government being leased by the city of Ottawa, and they won't give me access to it anymore to get in there and take the carburetor off shelf. So we're going to throw a whole new engine on there and permanently mount the snowblower on it. I'm going to bring you around here. The blue tarp is the tickle trunk that goes in my trailer when I take it to shows. It's where I store the Rubbermaids and the rolls of leather, use it as a work table. Later on, we'll show it to you once the setup is complete. Down in here, which is probably hard to see, there's a hump in the snow. That's a really large aquarium with a curved front that I picked up at the local dump, and it's going to go out to Trolls, not this time, I'm going tomorrow, simply because it's under the snow. It's waiting for spring as well, and I'm not even going to bother shoveling it out. But to swing you around and show you my latest addition to my, I picked that set of shells up at the dump too. People are going to throw it out. I'm going to scoop it up for the metal. You can see the trailer with a fair amount of snow accumulated. Most of that's just snowfall, not by being thrown there by the snowblower. Now, one of the things Troll showed you was, and yes, I'm walking without my cane, it's in the studio. I have to be careful on the ice. I use crushed oyster shell for traction, just so you know. It's 40% calcium. It doesn't freeze like salt or sand. Salt only works to minus, I think, 10 Celsius. Then it's no good. I use the calcium. You just spread it down. The birds will eat it. But first, let's start with the snow load on the addition to the studio. So that had to be removed because the walls were starting to complain. In the spring, we're going to go in there and reinforce the roof with a support to the center rafters, the ridge pole. Somebody smarter in construction can tell me that pole that runs down the center of the roof that the rafters sit on. We're going to reinforce that just to make it support a little better. And we're going to swing around. You can see the snow on the house and the birds in the yard. They're loving it. They can't wait for spring because they'll play in the puddles. But right now they're just getting what they can of the fresh air, and snow coming again tonight. We're forecasted 2 to 4 centimeters. For those non-scientific, inch, it's 2.5 centimeters. So we might get 1-2 inches, might not 2. But it gets removed regularly. We had to clear the flat section. Let me swing around. You can see the green tarp on the flat section of the duck chalet. I'll come around and give you a better view. It's 12 feet, 14 feet, 16 feet down the side, 8 feet wide. We're going to rebuild the roof this spring and put a slope to it because we're building an addition for, which I think you can, the peacocks. Mrs. Peacock is going to need to have her own little space when the babies come, because they are dinosaurs and she can be downright nasty when it comes to protecting her young. He'll be able to go outside. He won't go far because he won't leave the missus that far from view. I'm going to bring you over and show you my trailer, which last year when I was in Ireland, in England, Wales, Troll extended the sides to it, and I picked up another bed rail for more material. He's got more work to do on it. I throw a tarp over the whole thing to keep the weather off it when I'm at a show. If I put my pop-up tents in front, then the tarps can overlap onto that. Or if the weather's nice, I put some nice decorative sheets up there as a sunshade. So those sides, you'll see later, are going to be filled in with plywood to enclose the box. And my tickle trunk and my rolling toolbox go in there. And at some point, we'll show the whole process. He's got a bit more work to do. I want some steps. Fold-out steps at the end where the tailgate is on the side, on each side. So I can utilize access without dropping the tailgate, because quite often at an event you pay for square footage. You know, 10 by 10, trailer's 10 feet long. If I'm allowed to drop the tailgate or take it off for that case, then yes I can. If I can't, and my back says stop doing that now as much as possible, then I'm going to put sides that drop down similar to like a small aircraft. You know, drop the steps down, gives me access to get into the trailer. The lid that is holding the snow at the moment, they'll fold back completely. And then that gives me my workspace inside so that I can custom make a project like a belt right on the spot, or if kids want to make their own bookmarks, or adults. I have hundreds of the stamps, and we do it right there in the booth. I use a press. I did a Maker's Day, actually a Maker's Night event last Tuesday in the town of Perth. And because of some privacy issues, I don't take pictures of the kids. Parents are welcome to do that themselves. But I took a picture of the setup. So when we're looking at snow load, the closest thing I can get to a snow bank isn't even a bank. Behind me here, that hump, which you probably can't see, is just a big stone, and it's covered with a foot of snow. And behind that is the ladder rack for the trailer, and the carcass of a leather covered recliner. I found it on the side of the road, brought it home. I stripped the leather off to do projects with it, and I have yet to dispose of the carcass because the wild animals won't eat up what's left. And quite often, I picked up a really nice love seat for free. Got a love free cycle. And there's a better view of my tickle trunk, named after Mr. Dressup. I won't even mention the other piece of it. So I was inspired, admit it, by Troll's video, and he's finally making the maple mead or maple wine. That's not all for me, folks. The gist of the deal was, here's the syrup, but when it's done, I want that jug that had the syrup in it filled with wine. I'll take that share, and he can have what's left. So I figured that's a good deal, and it works out quite well for me at that point. So he started it. Thank you very much, Troll. And I'll see you tomorrow. I got to stop at my brother's. I have a long arm patcher. It's a type of sewing machine called a patcher. Later on I'll show you. I picked up one after getting rid of the two that I had when I had my store. And I had made tables to fit them so I could sew like a vest, put the crest on the back of the vest and lay it out on top of the table that I had made. Well, my brother Scott, who helped me with the walking sticks, he has made me a table to go on it. So that'll allow me to utilize that as a tabletop sewing patcher. And a patcher has a sewing foot on it that you can turn in 360 degrees. So when you're sewing a crest, like on the back of a vest or up a sleeve, you can slip the sleeve up the arm of the sewing machine, or a pair of pants, or a boot, and put a patch on the object, repair patch or whatever. So I'll be picking that up tomorrow on my way to Troll's. And then I'll show you how that gets up and running. I'm looking forward to, I've used the machine once to do a small job. And I'm looking forward to having the table on it so I can do the larger pieces, the flatter pieces, and make some more stuff. To be honest, I pouted. I sold my machines, figured that was the end of the business, and I stopped pouting. It's got myself a lovely studio, and I'm going to build an addition to the studio connecting the trailer that you saw beside it, so I can expand the space. And in inclement weather, and I don't really call this inclement, but for 3 seasons of the year, be able to, use that space in between. I don't heat my studio full time. I have 2 small kerosene heaters in it. So when it gets about -5 outside, then I can fire them up and come back in an hour and take off my coat, and it becomes quite warm. The tools get very cold, so the heat helps me able to handle things once it warms up. But then it gets too bloody hot in the summertime, the humidity. So I have a friend who's coming out in the spring, and we're going to run hydro, a good line, they call it a cab wire, from the house to the trailer as an extension cord, and then I'll be able to plug in an air conditioner and cool some of that space. So I'm going to show you some of that as it progresses over the next couple of 3 months, and my goal is to have myself, using that space as much as I desire within the next couple of months. When it's the heat of the summer, I can't go in there for more than a few minutes. So I'm hoping to be able to improve. It's insulated, but I'm going to improve the insulation and put the air conditioning in. And my man cave, my dog house, I will explain that in another video how it got its name. It is the dog house, DAWG. And as a teaser, I'll tell you about that in the coming future. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, please. I've got a handful of followers. Thank you very much. Watch. Don't have to subscribe. But shout out to Troll and Raymond, who have inspired me to enjoy sharing my passion with leather and talking. Which reminds me, I've just become a community correspondent with Valley Heritage Radio out of Renfrew. And so once a week I call in, spend a minute or two telling about the good news, it's a good news file, what's happening in Lanark Highlands. So I have reached out to community groups, churches, the school, discovered the postmaster is a published poet. He's got 5 books. Does readings at the post office. I do leathercraft workshops at the post office. So just because I mentioned I'm looking for the good news in the community, it's there. It's so cool. And more on that in the future. I do my first call in on Monday. And I'm just now playing with my new selfie stick. Tripod and selfie stick all in one with a remote. So cool. And I can't find the remote. There it is. Thanks, folks.